Hi, and welcome to Teaching Remotely with Google Tools. My name is Diana Benner, and I am one of the directors of professional development at TCEA. I do have my contact information on the screen if you ever need to reach out to me. You can do so by email at dbenner@tca.org, or you can always find me on Twitter and reach out to me there. I am at DiBen. I do have a copy of this slideshow at tca.org/remote learning. I am going to be sharing some templates with you today, so if you want to take advantage and use some of those templates, you can find, again, a copy of this slideshow for your use at that website. So today I'm going to be showing you just a few ways that you can use Google Tools in order to teach remotely and do different things with your remote classroom. So one of the things that you might want to be doing is checking in with your students. So I'm going to show you how you can do that using Google Tools, how to keep track of how you're communicating with students and or families. Show you some different ways that you can give instructions to your students, as well as help them by creating some schedules and differentiating some lessons. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you here is how you can check in with your students. So in a remote environment, it's going to be very important that you check in with your students, and just like you would in your face-to-face classroom, check in, see how they're doing, provide them some encouragement, see if there's anything that they might need. I do have a template here that was created by Jennifer Johnson Monroe. And what Jennifer did here is she created a Google form. Again, this is just to check in. You can see she titled it, "How is everybody doing?" And she goes through, she collects their name, and it looks like Jennifer maybe was teaching Spanish, so they would select their class period. And she's just asking them different questions. You know, what are they concerned about? What are they worried about? Do they have any questions regarding anything? Are they, again, any concerns at all? So, it's just, really good idea that you check in with your students and see how they are doing. So what I do have here is the template. So if you click on Get Template and you can use the template, you can then adjust this Google form so that it fits with what you want to ask your students as far as checking in, seeing how they're doing. If they had any questions about a particular assignment. And again, you can see with this particular one, Jennifer does reassure them that she is the only one that's going to see the results and see the responses of this form. So again, you can use this Google form. And the good thing about doing this with the Google form is that you can get the responses back in a Google Sheet. So if you create a new spreadsheet, just as I did, you can then see that it will list all the responses. So you have them all nice and neat in one place. Now, again, I have the template there that you can use that Jennifer shared. If you're not that familiar with Google Forms, I do have a link here for some different tutorials for Google Forms, or feel free to reach out to me and I can definitely help you with that. But again, make sure that you are checking in with your students. So another thing that you can do is, or one thing that you will want to do when you are teaching remotely is keep track of how you are communicating with your students. So what I have here, this happens to be a Google Sheet created by Kelsey Grace Brinkman. And Kelsey created this as a way to keep track of her students. And she also has a space there of how she's reaching out to families and parents of her students. But one reason that you want to do this is it's very important that I can't tell you how important it is to be communicating with your students, especially in a remote environment, and then keeping track of which students are responding to you, which students are not. So let's go ahead and take a look at Kelsey's spreadsheet here. So you can see that Kelsey arrange this by, you've got your students' names, then she has the grade, and then she's got different items at the top. It looks like they're doing some Google Meet where they're meeting, and she's keeping track of who's attending. And you can see every time you put a check in the box, she has it set up to where it's automatically populating the number of times that you have communicated. She also has a space for some notes there, as well as when she's reaching out to parents. So again, very important communication, especially when teaching remotely, that you just don't want to guess, oh yeah, I did talk to that student did reach out to me. You want to make sure that you have some way that you are keeping track of that. And I do have the template here that Kelsey has shared. If you want to get a copy of that, you just click on that link and that will get you a copy of the template. So another cool thing that you can do with Google is in Google Docs, let's say that you have assignments that you want to give out to your students. One good way to use Google Docs is to give your students instructions about the assignments that they need to complete. Usually, if we were in a face-to-face classroom environment, you would probably just give the instructions orally. In this case, remotely, you're going to have a place to give your students instructions, and Google Docs is a good way to do that. So this here is a template that was created by Mark Gavitt. And so you can see that Mark is having his students do a journal writing assignment. And he has provided instructions here for them. And it just so happens that with this particular writing assignment, he wants them, that they are a primary source as an eyewitness account of an event. So basically they're documenting the coronavirus pandemic through their journal, and they're modeling it after an I Survived book. And so he goes through, and you can see that he's very specific with his instructions, which is what you're going to have to do. You can't with, you can't think about, well, you know, as you would in a face-to-face, I'm just giving these orally. You want to think about exactly what you want the students to do and be as specific as you can with your instructions. You can see he even has the font size that they have to use between 14 and 18. And it looks like that he gave them a Google slide that they will be using in order to complete their journal. So they've got chapter 1. And so the students would use this template to complete their journal. You can see that he does give them some freedom. They can change the theme. So they do have a little bit of choice. They can add their own pictures and do different things like that. But again, he's very specific with what he wants them to do. And he goes on with the chapter prompts. And then he even provides them with some examples of what that looks like, and what that particular assignment would look like. So I thought he laid this out very nice. So again, providing instructions with Google Docs. If this happens to be something you think you might want to use for your own classroom, you can get the template from that link there. One thing that I did not talk about is how do you get those instructions to your students. So if you're not using Google Classroom, one other way that you can get these instructions out to your students is just by sharing it with them. If they happen to have email addresses, you could enter them in here and then have them view. Probably the easiest thing is going to be is that anyone with the link can view, and then you could share that link there with your students or send that out to them. So again, if you're not using Google Classroom, that's one way to share this out with your students. And I did put a link here on how to share Google Docs. There's a short tutorial there if you need more information about that. So another way to use Google Tools is to create schedules. So with a remote learning situation or environment, it's going to be very important that your students have some type of structured schedule and that they know what they're doing, not only for the day, but also for the week. So what I have here are two different types of schedules. Both of these were created by Jorge Valenzuela. This one here is a student daily schedule. And so this is one that Jorge is sending out, it looks like, to parents or caregivers of his students. And he is suggesting here is what it looks like, and he has some suggestions to try to help them stay on task with their daily activities. So he's thrown in some academic time, some creative time, some chore time, and even a community service time. I really like that he incorporated that into there as well. But again, this here is just a Google Doc, and what he did here is just set up a table. And so with your Google Docs, you can come over here and do insert table, and then make your table however many cells and columns and rows that you want it to be. And then you can always color code your Google Docs by coming over and going right-clicking on the cell and going to table properties, and then you can change the color of that. But I do have some Google Docs tutorials here if you've never worked with tables before in Google Docs. This is another one that Jorge has created, and this is a week-long schedule. This is a home learning schedule for 5th grade. And so you can see on Monday, it looks like from 9:45 to 10:15, they're going to have math, reading 10:15 to 10:45. So he's got some different things that they're doing there. And the cool thing about this is if he had additional things like he does right here, he can just go out and link to that. It looks like they're doing some research, so he can put in different links there on their schedule. He's got an exit ticket and a closing that they're doing on Flipgrid, looks like, at the end of the day. And you can see it's pretty consistent with they're having math at 9:45 every day to kind of have that consistency that so students know what they are doing. And again, closing out the day with that exit ticket activity. So again, that's just a Google Doc with a table in it. And if you want to use either one of those templates, I have the links for you there, so you can use those and modify those as it meets your particular class. Another thing that you can do is you can create, this here is a choice board. And what choice boards do is they allow for you to differentiate lessons. So as you know from your face-to-face class, not every student learns the same way. Okay, so students like to learn differently. So this, again, can be transferred to a remote learning environment. What I have here is a Google Doc, and this here is a differentiated choice board. This was created by 3 different teachers. And what they have is they have it divided up by early, intermediate, and advanced. And so the students are able to choose what it is that they want to do. And they've got it by learn, practice, construct, and synthesize. And so if they want to start with the early, then they could go up to the intermediate. Again, this is about providing choice for your students, as well as giving them different options of what they want to do. Do they want to record a video? Do they want to write a summary? Do they want to create a storyboard? So it does allow for some different choice. Now, we do have some more information about choice boards on our blog, and I have the link there for you if you want to take a look at some of the different choice boards. We do have some more examples. One that I've seen a lot is like a tic-tac-toe type of choice board that you're seeing there, where students have to make a tic-tac-toe, so they would pick any 3 that they want to do. So that's a different way of doing a choice board. And then we do have a blog entry that will take you through step by step on how to create that choice board for your classroom. And you can see here, usually you start with a 9-square grid, and each square will have an activity, kind of like the one that I showed you. Again, there's different ones. There's a tic-tac-toe. There's a random choice. So definitely check out this blog entry as well as some of our others. And if you're looking to do some type of allowing for some choice in the assignments and differentiating your classroom. And you can see there with this one, Peggy decided just to kind of map it out on a piece of paper before she took it out to a Google Doc. Okay, so again, with the Google Doc, it is just a table, and you can insert text and some different links. So those are just a few ways that you can use Google to when you are teaching remotely. And again, make sure that you visit our blog. It's blog.tca.org. And if you're looking for additional resources, you can search for remote learning, or you could do a search for remote teaching. And all of our blog entries that have to deal with that subject will come up. And that will provide you again with additional information. All right, well, I'd like to thank you for joining me today for how to use some Google tools with your remote teaching. Again, don't forget to visit our website, tca.org/remote learning. Thank you.